No. You are not a project manager. You are not a strategist. It is not your responsibility to figure out this person like they are a brief. Okay? We can see potentials in things in the workplace. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to people, we have to be very, very, very mindful. We have to be extremely mindful. Hi community, welcome back to A Cupful. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. So in this week's episode, or rather this week's bonus episode, A Big Sister's Advice is back. So just to give you a little bit of context, a bit of a background, I initially recorded one episode last year and I published that. And whilst my intention was to just continue with those episodes, I never really did. I don't have a good enough reason why, but I'm here to redeem myself, and I'm here to say that I have every intention of seeing it through this time. A Big Sister's Advice are pretty much episodes that are specifically dedicated to giving advice to the girls that are in their much earlier years, in their 20s, even 18, 19, because that's also very close to making that transition into your 20s. So that is really what the purpose of these episodes are. As I said in that episode last year, I am an older sister myself. I am a big sister, and I'm often having conversations with my brother, with my sister, especially with my sister. She's 19 turning 20, and we're just always talking about so many different things, and I'm able to share some of the choices that I made that were not so good and that were great, and just advise her, and she's able to come to me and be as honest and as open as possible. And so I just thought that I can see the value and the beauty in having those conversations with her. Why not bring that to the podcast? So every single month, I am going to send out a call to action for you to please, if you are somebody in your early 20s, if you are 18, 19 years old, even your mid 20s, and you have a dilemma, you have something that you would like advice on, I'm going to ask you to please send it through to acupfulll@gmail.com, or you can otherwise just send through a DM to the A Cupful page on TikTok if you have TikTok. I'm leaving all of that information in the show notes. This is the official call to action for the episode that I will be recording for next month, which will be March. So please, please, please do send through any dilemma that you might have, anything that you might need advice on. You are going to remain anonymous. I will not reveal your identity at all. And that's really it. That is really what it is. I am starting off this episode, or I'm doing this episode based on just a few conversations that I've had with my sister, because I didn't really do a call to action before recording this episode. I decided that I'm going to do it in this episode, but that's what this episode is based off of. Even observations I've been making on social media, just seeing a lot of the videos that have popped up on my TikTok feed specifically, where young girls in their early 20s, 20, 21, 22, are talking about specific things in specific ways, sharing their experiences, even asking for advice online. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's episode. Again, if you are open to sharing whatever it is you want to share, the dilemma, the advice that you need, the conversation that you would like me to have here on the podcast in an episode of A Big Sister's Advice, please do share that with me. The information is in the show notes. And for the much older ladies, your late 20s, your 30s, 40s, beyond, please also share any of your advice that you have in coming episodes, even in this one. Please, I'd really like to hear from you, and I can imagine that the younger ladies would also like to hear from you. Leave your comments, your thoughts in the show notes. You can also even send me an email with your thoughts, because I like to have conversations. I like to learn new things. I like to hear different perspectives. So that would be really great as well. Okay, so as we all know, I am very excited about this. I'm turning 30 this year, and of course, it is not only a milestone, but it just has my jaw on the floor because number one, where did the time go? But number two, there is so much that I've learned. I've grown in so many different ways, and I know that there is so much to look forward to, which is something that has got me feeling all types of grateful and blessed and just so appreciative to God for bringing me to this point. And as I just said, I've learned so much along the way. And I'm just really grateful that I've come out of so many things that could have had really bad outcomes. I just know that that was God's hand over me. I know that that was my mother's prayers. I know that that was my grandmother's prayers. I just know that some of the choices that I made when I was in my early 20s and I was gullible and I was lacking in knowledge, those could have changed my life forever. Those choices, those decisions I was making in those moments. But that's not the case for me. I was able to come out of them unscathed, and I'm so grateful. Most importantly, I believe that me sharing what I'm going to share with you means that you can make a more informed decision, means you don't have to go through certain things. It means that you can avoid certain things and just choose to explore and experience in your 20s in a way that will be good for you, that will still preserve and protect your life and your well-being and just your state of mind and your emotional stability. So the first thing that I really wanted to get into is something that only became apparent and I only realized the value and importance of in my late 20s. So when I turned 27 in that year, I started to realize that, oh my goodness, this is a real thing. It's serious, and it's something that I must take into consideration, or that I must remember always in any situation that I'm in any place that I'm in. Please trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. When my mom explained to me for the first time, when I got it for the first time, what your gut is, she said to me, it's God speaking to you. She said it's him whispering and nudging and telling you that I need you to get out of here. I need you to move away from this. This is not going to end well. And so some people might call it a voice of reason. Some people might call it an angel that is trying to warn you. Some people say it's just something in your body. But one thing that is absolutely important and that is true is that you need to trust your gut. You need to listen to that voice. And I've also realized that the more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. The more you ignore it, the more it fades away. So trust your gut. I also like that the way that God has made us is that you will feel it in your body when something is wrong. You will either feel it in your head. Most people say they feel it in their tummy, in their stomach. Some people get goosebumps, they literally get chills. You know that saying, got chills running down my spine. Some people just feel this feeling of there's something wrong. I'm in danger, something is off. So I need you to listen to your gut. If you are sitting across the table from somebody, if you are in a room with somebody, if you are standing next to somebody and you can feel that feeling, make sure to listen to it. Please do not ignore it. Don't push it off or push it away as it's nothing. Because usually when your gut is trying to tell you something, that means that there is something there and you just need to listen. It's going to make sure that you stay protected from so many things, from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's going to make sure that you are not involved in certain situations, in certain relationships. That's what listening to your gut will do for you. It is going to preserve your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. So when people are saying we're going to the next location and you can feel that something is just not right, please say I'm going home, when you can tell, when you can feel it, that when you're having a conversation with this person, something just isn't right, then move away. Don't wait to see more. Okay? The other one is, and this is a big one, don't rush into a relationship. I'm talking about a romantic relationship now. And be careful not to end up in a loop of going from one relationship to the other. So I'm going to first speak on the first part, and then I'll get into the second one. When I say don't rush into a relationship, I'm talking about the fact that don't be in a hurry for somebody to ask you to be their girlfriend, for it to be a solid relationship. Give it time. Allow a person to show themselves to you. Allow yourself the opportunity to be able to really see the kind of character that a person has, who they are, what their values are, if they have things about them that are going to cause the relationship to struggle, if they have strengths that you really like, if they have weaknesses that you would like to get into and talk about. Don't rush into a relationship. Because I've realized something. I saw a video the other day where this girl was saying that in 2025, ladies, we aren't going on dates, or we are not going to stay on dates where a man hasn't brought us flowers and he hasn't paid for an Uber, or he isn't offering to pay for the meal, or he is not pretty much offering a monetary kind of a gift, or there isn't any money involved, or there isn't any gift involved. And I said, whilst I can understand and respect that we all have our different preferences, you just need to be very, very careful to make sure that you are not missing the signs because someone has given you a bouquet of roses, or because somebody has paid for a date, that you aren't attributing a bouquet of roses to the goodness of a person's character. You aren't saying now, or you aren't justifying certain things because a person has bought you material things, or they paid for a date. We just need to be very careful, and I want to encourage you to be careful. Giving yourself an opportunity to really get to know a person and take things step by step will allow you to see if you and that person are a good fit, if you are somebody, or if they are somebody and you are somebody who will be able to get into the relationship because you want to be partners, because you want to grow together, because you want to move forward together, not because you're constantly looking to get something from each other. Whether that's money, whether that is having the other person be your emotional crutch, whether that is being in that relationship because you just don't feel like you're enough. So if you give yourself the time, you will be able to see the things that you need to see. Don't get excited and rush into things because of you're doing it from a place of lack or a place of fear. Okay? And just tell yourself that if this doesn't work with this person, then it just doesn't. That's fine. There are so many people in the world, and if this person is not your person, then another person definitely will be. I think rushing into a relationship also results in settling, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but when you just throw yourself into something and you haven't given yourself the time and space to understand if this is really going to work for you, you kind of set yourself up for overstaying your welcome, or making excuses for a person when they cheat, or when they lie, or when they don't know how to speak to you, they don't have tact, they aren't gentle, they aren't kind. You just find a way to justify it. And that's because there was just such a rush, there was just such a hurry. And I guess you also get to a place, because I know I've experienced this, you get to a place where you say, there are so many good things about him, it's just this one thing, it's just these two things, and they don't override or overpower the goodness that is him or that he has in him, so I'm just going to overlook that, or we'll work on it, we'll figure it out. No. Don't set yourself up for failure, don't set yourself up for heartbreak, Do not set yourself up to be in a relationship that you are not supposed to be in. And don't convince yourself that there is not a single person in the world who can and who will want to adhere to your standards, who can and who will want to fulfill what you are looking for. Okay? Don't be afraid to be single. That's also what I'm saying here. Don't rush into anything, and don't be afraid to be single. Being single is not a curse. Being single is not a bad thing. If anything, it gives you the time and space to know exactly who you are, to know what you want, and to walk away with ease when something is not for you, when you can tell that something is not going to work. So, also, when you can feel that something is wrong, and just take it as that. Like I just spoke about the listening to your gut feeling. When something is off, something is off. Walk away. Don't try and figure it out, fix it, justify it, please. And then when I said don't end up in a loop of going from one relationship to the other, when a relationship has ended, I know that there is a narrative on social media where people are always saying, in order for you to get over the other person, you need to get into another relationship, or love has no, what is it? I'm looking for the words. Love has no limitations. Love has no time limit. It's okay to get into another relationship, after getting out of another one. And whilst I could see the argument, because there are people that broke up with their partners and then within 6 months, 7 months, a year, they were with somebody else. Fine. I can get that it works for some people, but there is the thing for me about that being that there are exceptions to the rule. Overall, it isn't healthy for you to get out of a relationship and then get into a new one. You need space and time to feel the things that you need to feel, to work through those feelings, to just understand what it is that you enjoyed and appreciated about that relationship and what you didn't, what you appreciated about yourself in that relationship and what you didn't, so that you can work on whatever it is that you didn't like about yourself, work on whatever it is that person was doing that you wouldn't want another person to do again. And when I say work on it, I mean detach yourself from being okay with receiving that, so that you aren't ever open to being with someone who, for example, raises their voice at you, or doesn't keep the promises that they make, or are never on time to dates, or are very flaky and are always rescheduling, or are poor with finances. So we need time to sit and process. And I just think that social media has created this idea that you can just hop right onto the next one and it's not so much of a big deal. And I would like to dispute that argument. I think that it is a big deal. I think that it takes away and hinders your personal growth. You are taking on more after having been through a lot. I personally think heartbreaks can be difficult, can be challenging, even if you are somebody who claims to be able to detach easily. I do think that a big part of being in touch with your emotions is sitting with yourself and feeling the things you need to feel, processing it, and being able to say, okay, this made me happy, this didn't. This is what I'm looking for in the next relationship. This is what I'm not looking for. Some people can do it in 6 months. Again, I'm not going to dispute that. There are many people who have gotten into relationships not so long after going through a breakup, but I personally believe that they are the exception to the rule, and that whilst I believe in we should do what works for us, I do think that there's just a desensitization of going through breakups, or going through a breakup, and what impact that can have on you, and just that you need time and that you need space, and that also if you constantly feel the need to be in a relationship and you can't be alone, then you need to ask yourself, maybe, what's going on with me? What is it that I'm chasing here? Why do I constantly feel the need to be in a relationship? Am I seeking validation? Am I seeking comfort? Am I seeking love? Am I seeking to be loved in a certain way that I can't do for myself, or that I've been looking for the longest time, right? So just be very mindful when you approach that. And whilst I think relationships are beautiful, and I think that it is lovely to meet somebody who loves you and cares for you and wants the best for you and constantly encourages you to be the best version of yourself, I also think that it can also go the other way, and you can end up in a place where you're in a constant loop of being in relationships and you're just meeting people that are not good for you. You are ending up in relationships that are toxic, in relationships that are not serving you, in relationships that are hindering your personal growth, and that are just standing in the way of you becoming the best version of yourself. So I'm going to say sometimes what needs to happen is that you need to be single and just enjoy that period and appreciate that and work on yourself and focus on yourself. Singleness is not a bad thing at all. Singleness is a beautiful thing, and you shouldn't see it as something that is taking away from your youth or from your existence. All right? The next one is don't ignore the red flags. Okay? Very similar to always trust your gut, but always trust your gut feeling. But when I say don't ignore the red flags, I'm talking about in romantic relationships and in friendships. There are things that we see about people that we can identify right at the beginning. And what we'll sometimes do, I remember with myself, what I used to do a lot is I would say, it's really not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. But the thing with red flags is the more you ignore them, the bigger they become and the more pigmented they become. It's not just going to stay small. It's not going to keep being a thing that you can say, it's okay, it's whatever. It is eventually going to get out of control. And you don't want to be in a situation where you are having to deal with the repercussions of ignoring red flags. If a person chooses to walk out on you in the middle of a disagreement, they abandon you, and then they decide that they're not going to talk to you for days on end, that's not something that you should try and reason with. It's not something you should try and justify. Maybe he was so angry. Maybe she was just frustrated. Maybe they had a difficult day. Absolutely not. It's a red flag. If somebody is constantly lying to you and you can just tell that these are lies, please don't go along with it. That is a red flag. Somebody who is unreliable, that is a red flag. Somebody, when it comes to romantic relationships, when a guy is telling you that the person he was with before is crazy, that is a red flag. I strongly believe that it is okay to share certain things about a previous relationship, right? It's okay to share how certain things maybe made you feel, or how you felt that you played a role in, for example, like ignoring a red flag, how you played a role in the demise of the relationship, just ignoring certain things, putting up with things that you shouldn't have put up with, not having any boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that. It's reflecting, and it's also an indication of your own growth and your own self-awareness. But a person that you're with in the past, they shouldn't be consuming the majority of your relationship, right? And there is also just no need as a grown adult for you to constantly be talking about how your ex did this, how much of a terrible person they are. I personally think that it is an indication of a lack of self-awareness, and that you are constantly wanting to shift the blame, and that you are somebody that maybe struggles with healing or overcoming certain things or moving past certain things. And an ex means someone in the past. So you shouldn't be dwelling on them, and it shouldn't be something that you are making your business to taint their name, to make them come across or seem as a bad person. And that's why I say we need to give ourselves time and space to heal after a breakup. If you don't, you are going to carry your ex into a new relationship, and you are going to put that weight on the shoulders of your new partner, and that is unfair. So just be very mindful of that. Somebody telling you that their ex is unwell, they're crazy, just tainting their name constantly, that's not something you should be excited about or proud of. And that's something that used to make me feel reassured and make me think that I'm special. But what I was not realizing is that that person just had a poor character. If they could go on to unprovoked share with me that their previous partner was crazy, that their previous partner was this and this and that, then it just shows that there's something deeply wrong with them. They don't have self-awareness. They don't have a good character. They don't carry themselves very well. Nothing is ever their fault, right? So just be very mindful. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't stay with someone with the hopes that they will change along the way. That is being with someone for their potential. That is seeing a speck of a thing and saying, okay, I can work with this. No. You are not a project manager. You are not a strategist. It is not your responsibility to figure out this person like they are a brief. Okay? We can see potentials in things in the workplace. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to people, we have to be very, very, very mindful. We have to be extremely mindful, because when you approach the relationship like that, they are going to become your project. And you are going to pour, and eventually get very tired, overwhelmed, and resentful. So please avoid that. When you can tell that this is just not it, don't even approach, walk away. I need you to actively invest in your friendships. This is very important. Sisterhood is vital. Romantic relationships are beautiful. I have mentioned it so many times on the podcast that I absolutely believe in love. I am a lover girl myself. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that whilst romantic relationships are beautiful, it's important to nurture friendships, platonic friendships, whether that be with other women. Mostly for me, other women, because I don't have male friends, but I know and I've heard from other women saying that they have really solid male friends that they consider as their brothers, who are always showing up for them and are people that know to respect their boundaries, are people that know to not overstep, unless it's an intervention, then they are in relationship with a man or men that know that this is somebody who I respect, and I'm not going to compromise that respect that I have for them. I won't compromise the quality of our relationship. So for me, I'm going to speak on sisterhood. Sisterhood is very, very important. We need friendship. Friendship is something that will help you grow. It will show you and lead you to the parts of you that you didn't know existed, that need nurturing and love and support from other women. And being in community with other women who are loving and kind and generous and patient and open-minded and open-hearted, and are just constantly striving to be better people, that can have a very beautiful impact on you. So enjoy romantic love, but don't neglect platonic love with other women. Oh my goodness, the support, the healing that comes out of that, being loved right by women who are kind and good, that is absolutely life-changing. I think that it's unfair I think that it's also unrealistic to put the weight of friendship on your romantic relationship as well, because I have heard some people say that I am my boyfriend's only friend, and some guys will say I'm my girlfriend's only friend. And I've been in a situation like that, and that was not healthy. That was very, very, very unhealthy. It's codependency, and codependency is a form of dysfunction. So you don't want to romanticize or glamorize the idea of being your boyfriend's only friend, or of your boyfriend saying that you are his only friend. We need lives outside of the romantic relationship, and community with other women is a really beautiful way to establish that. I also think that we just need to have people to talk to. You can't always have your boyfriend to talk to. Your boyfriend can't always have you to talk to. That is unrealistic. That is unhealthy. That is going to cause a lot of harm to the quality and the sustenance of the relationship. There's just a lot going on as it is in a romantic relationship. And so to put more weight on that, no. And I'm not saying don't be friends with your boyfriend. That's very important. I think friendship is a very important part of a romantic relationship. But that man should not be your only friend, okay? That man should not be your only friend. We need women. We need good, kind women in our lives who will speak life into us, who will add to our well-being, who we can add into their lives and speak life into them. Two-way street. So just from someone who has been on both sides, where I've seen what happens when you put the weight of making your partner your be-all and end-all, and then being on the other side where I'm focused on nurturing and cultivating good and healthy friendship with other women. I'm telling you right now that where it's at is to have a healthy balance and to appreciate and pour into and play your part when it comes to friendship, sisterhood with other women. Okay? The next thing is be yourself. Be your authentic self. Please don't spend your 20s trying to fit in, to look like everyone else, sound like everyone else, to have the same social and political opinions. Learn to think for yourself and to be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try and be anyone else. Don't try and mimic your favorite influencer. Don't try and do what everyone is doing on your For You page. Please. Please, please, please. Because also, you end up living for other people and what other people think of you and what they're going to say for you instead of for yourself and for what makes you happy. I was watching a YouTube video where this lady was talking about how she healed her relationship with money and made her first million by 31 from working her 9-to-5 job and having other side hustles. And she was talking about she made the mistake of purchasing a house prematurely and buying an expensive car that she could not afford because she was very concerned about what people thought of her and how people would perceive her and just fitting in, right? And she said it caused her so much financial strain that she had to, for a long time, cut back and live way below her means. So she was just saying that to avoid that, look at your own life. Look at what works for you. Understand who you are and what you want, not just for the present, but for the future. And work according to that. So, whether it be a car or a house, whether it be a romantic relationship or a handbag, whether it be clothing or shoes, holiday destination, don't do it because it's the popular, trendy thing to do on social media. Do it because it's something that you want to do. And I'm always going to say this, take time. All of the time that you can, really. Use your 20s for that, to get to know yourself so that you can be your authentic self, because you can't be something that you don't understand, that you cannot identify with. You can't be your authentic self if you do not know who you are. So please please, please, please make it a priority to just be your authentic self, and don't feel the need to have the same views, to have the same opinions as everyone else because of you want to fit in. If you're not a feminist, then you're not. If you are a feminist, then you are. But it shouldn't be based on what other people are telling you. It should be based on what you believe in, what you believe to be true. And you need to stick beside it. You need to stand your ground. It's just like how they are liberals and they are conservatives. Some people are liberal because they understand the tenets of it. They can relate to it. They know the principles behind it. It's a part of their lives. It's real beliefs that they actually have. It fits in with their values. And some people are conservative for the very same reasons. But in the same way that there are some people that are liberal because of it's the in thing, or because of other people are telling them to be liberal, or because of they want to fit in. Same with conservatives. Some people are conservative simply because they want to fit in, or because of they want to be chosen. Whatever the case may be, don't end up in that situation. Learn to think for yourself. Learn to disagree and to stand by your word. And if somebody or people don't like it, then that's their problem. But don't get stuck in the rut of being likable, being wanted, being chosen. Like I said, learn to think for yourself and to be yourself. Which brings me to my last point. If you choose to be on social media, be mindful of what you are consuming and who you are following and just how much time you are spending online. Okay? Social media can be such an empowering and educational place, but it can also be a place that spreads misinformation and that fear mongers and that creates unrealistic relationship, financial, and material standards. So be very careful. I'm going to take it back to what I just said. Be yourself. Learn who you are. Learn what you like. Learn what you don't like. The moment you have a good understanding of who you are, what it is you want, what it is you don't want, then it is going to be so much easier for you to be on social media without feeling the need to comment on everyone's videos, argue with everyone, even take in all of the information, because sometimes what you need to do is scroll past. It isn't for you. Not every single video will be for you. So move on. Don't internalize it. Don't also now sit there and be like, okay, I'm taking notes. This is what I should be believing in. You need to be able to differentiate between information and misinformation, fear mongering and something being empowering. Okay, so don't spend so much time on social media that you don't even know what your own views are anymore, because social media can do that, too much of it anyways. Be intentional about who you follow. Be intentional about the conversations that you're choosing to listen to. Be very, 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 very intentional, and don't compromise on that. Do not compromise on that. I also just want to add that, and I've said this before in an episode, I think it was that the first episode I did, the first Big Sisters advice I recorded. What you see on social media is a small portion of people's lives. What you see on social media is not always real. Some of it is and some of it isn't. And so that's why you need to have discernment. That's why you need to, again, know yourself. Know what you want, know what you don't want. And I also just do think that if you are somebody that sits on social media and you base what you are looking for from a romantic relationship or from friendship based on what you are seeing on other people's posts, the 1,000 roses from the guy, or even roses every week, flowers every week, just having your Uber paid for on the dates, having the person that you're with pay for your clothes or send you money for hair or give you a girlfriend allowance, then you're definitely going to have a hard time being in a healthy relationship, being in a relationship in the real world, because there is a huge difference between what's happening on social media and a relationship that is being broadcast on social media versus what is happening in real life. And we just have so many things to consider. We are all in very different situations. That person that is in that video is probably an influencer. Her and her boyfriend are influencers, or maybe her boyfriend works a corporate 9 to 5. She's an influencer. She's getting 1,000 roses. He can afford it because he's making 50, 60, 70, 80,000 rands a month. The kind of life she lives, the standards that she has based on what she can afford. She's getting paid a lot from the brand partnership she's doing, etc. Right? We are all in very, very different situations. And I think ending up with social media brain rot from being on social media too much, or from taking social media standards and wanting to make them real life things, are the things that take away from experiencing authentic, real life, meaningful connection with people. We miss opportunities to connect with people simply because we have internalized standards that are unrealistic and that are not going to add anything into the relationship in the long run. And I'm a girl that likes nice things. I do love gifts. I appreciate gifts. I like it especially, specifically, most importantly, when the gift is thoughtful. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be expectant of a person that you are in a relationship with to give you thoughtful gifts, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. But it is exceptionally unhealthy. It is deeply unhealthy. It is concerning when a person creates this idea that in their head, or has these expectations in their head, that they are entitled to weekly flowers, that they are supposed to get a girlfriend allowance, that it is their right and it is a man's responsibility for him to do 1, 2, and 3 because of that's the role that he's supposed to play. It's very concerning. You are not taking into consideration that we're all different. We all have different access to money. Everybody's financial situation is very, very different. And the relationship is no longer being about being connected, having the same values, looking at a person's character. You are now looking at what a person can do for you materially. So, like I said, there needs to be a balance. And you shouldn't ruin your prospects of being in a relationship, a healthy one, with somebody who is of sound mind, who has good character, who has values, strong values, who has integrity, who has respect, self-respect, which will make respecting you so much easier, who understands boundaries, who has boundaries of his own, who is responsible financially, responsible emotionally, responsible mentally. But emotionally, he knows how to treat you, how to speak to you. Mentally, he is not going to do anything that is going to jeopardize your mental well-being. He won't jeopardize your well-being physically either. You're going to miss those things. You're going to miss seeing them because someone gave you a bouquet of flowers. Someone bought you something or sent you money. Again, gifts are special. It's nice to be treated by the person that you love. But just be very careful to not make the wrong things, the insignificant things, the things that shouldn't even be in your criteria, the main ones that you use to decide whether a person is a suitable candidate to be your boyfriend or not. Okay? Just approach with care and caution. Alright, this is definitely where we are ending this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so grateful that you are still here listening to the episode. I appreciate you so much. Please don't forget that A Cupful is on all listening platforms. And if you know somebody who would benefit from listening to this episode, please do let them know. Send them a link. That's how you can let them know. Send them a link. And if you enjoyed the episodes, if you enjoyed this one, please give the podcast a rating. I would really appreciate that. It helps the podcast get to more people, and that is exactly what we want. Don't forget that you can DM me on TikTok. The link to the account is in the show notes. You can also email me. Please do so. I would really like to hear from you, whether you are sharing an opinion or whether you are sharing a dilemma or something that you would like some advice on. Have a lovely remainder of this week. Work when you need to, rest when you need to. Be kind to yourself and others. That is very, very, very important. Don't forget that you are good. You are good when you are your authentic self, and that there is no need to rush through anything, and that your 20s are your learning years. So you don't need to stress yourself out about figuring everything out, because the time for that will come much later on, in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s. There is never, ever, ever going to be an expiration date on self-discovery. And most importantly, keep doing the things that fill your cup.